So it appears that the kids don't know that Alderaan got destroyed, the fact that there was this massive war throughout the galaxy. They don't know about any of that. So let's kind of tackle that part of the story, you guys, and talk about Skeleton Crew Episode 3. But first up, what's up, you guys? Welcome to Sector for Nerds. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. There's plenty of great content every single week. You guys definitely don't want to miss out on any of it. All right, Skeleton Crew Episode 3. It was all right. I enjoyed it, I think, more than I did the first two episodes, but I'm still not fully hooked into this show. Like last week, I'm trying to stay optimistic, but so far, like this story, it's just like, yeah, you know, it's okay, whatever. I just feel like there's a lot of parts in these episodes where I just feel bored. But also from what I've understood about this show is it does feel more like a kid's show. And judging by the reception that I've seen so far, at least from like the first two episodes, I don't really know necessarily about the third one, but the first two episodes, the reception was really good. And hats off to everybody that's enjoying this show. I'm happy you guys are enjoying it. I'm happy that you guys are having a great time with it. It's not that I'm having a bad time with it. I'm just kind of sitting here like, it's all right. It's a fun little adventure, but like, it's not hitting me the way that, you know, Star Wars used to hit me, you know what I'm saying? But yet again, I can also say the same thing about a lot of the projects over the last couple of years. At the very least, this show is not like damaging the lore and the mythology of Star Wars the way that a show earlier this year kind of did. And just so everybody knows as well, like I'm actually recording this video on Wednesday. Last week, what I did was, and usually what I'll do when a lot of these shows, like especially with Ahsoka as well, I would record the episode on the day, like as the episode released, so I could like immediately get my thoughts out there. But after I was done watching that third episode, I was like, oh, I feel like I really don't have much to talk about. I'm just gonna go on Netflix and watch Arcane, which is a fantastic show, by the way. I highly recommend it for anybody that's looking to check out something new. I watched The Penguin on Max recently as well. That was really good. And going back to Arcane, I'm not even a League of Legends person. Like, I don't know anything about the game, anything about the lore or anything like that. But I just came in like, you know, fresh into the show because like I had heard a lot of good things about it. And I go in there and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like, I've kind of become a little obsessed with it. And people that know me best know, like, when I become obsessed with something, I don't let go of it. Like, the way that I feel about the Spider-Verse, or how I feel about the Netflix Daredevil series, or Avatar: The Last Airbender. These are just a few examples. My favorite thing to do is when I become so obsessed with a story that when I'm watching through it, I just forget about everything else that's going on in my world. It's one of my favorite things to do is to escape real world and go to a fictional world and feel like I'm a part of that. A lot of the times I feel like I'm in there with them just like as an observer, and I become obsessed with characters and their stories and their arcs. The reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because this all ties back to Star Wars. Like, Star Wars was really the first thing growing up that I became like super duper obsessed with. And because of that love that I found for that franchise, eventually it allowed me to find other movies and shows to obsess over. Hence the nerd I am today. Tying this into Skeleton Crew, I'm not getting that same feeling that I used to feel when watching Star Wars. Now, again, I'm not sitting here saying that this is a bad show, but what I'm saying is when it comes to Star Wars, there's a certain level of expectation I have when I'm watching Star Wars content. And right now, I feel like a show like Skeleton Crew isn't exactly like reaching those standards. It's a fun little adventure, don't get me wrong. I like the kids in the show. Like, I think they're a fun little group to be around. But it's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm gonna, obsess over this the way that I would obsess over Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Which, speaking of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, you guys check out my videos every single Monday. We going through a new episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars each and every Monday, talking about it. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Shameless plug. I'm sorry that I'm not staying more on task with the Skeleton Crew topic. Again, it's just I don't feel like there's much to talk about. I guess if we can get into like the children not knowing about the war, that part of it does make me curious then. So it's like, okay, At-Aten feels like its own separate entity from what's going on in the rest of the galaxy. It's almost kind of like Ba Sing Se in Avatar: The Last Airbender, where like the people there didn't know about the 100-year war that was going on. It's very isolated. You know what? I think Kaz's dad should go live there. Senator Ziono, there's no throne, there's no war. Go live on At-Aten. They got none of that there. I felt like the kids' timing of like trying to understand who Jod was a very It was just very poorly timed. It's like, okay, guys, you've got X-Wings chasing after you. I feel like you guys should be like getting on your ship and getting out of there and then interrogate and question him. You know what I'm saying? Jod also feels like the Mandalorian a little bit in the sense that he doesn't really care too much about droids. I think eventually he'll get there, though. Like, I think by the end of the show, like, maybe it'll be something where, like, KB saves his life or vice versa. I could totally see something like that happening. And once again, I'm still curious about his story. I know that, like, and I talked a little bit about it last week, but one of their selling points for this show is the fact that, hey, Jude Law is going to be in this show. And I said it last week, you guys, like, it's a name that really means nothing to me. Not like in a bad way, but it's just like, I've never really seen any of his work. Hearing that name, it's like, okay, sure, cool. I don't know who that is, but great. But that being said, again, I like the character that he's portraying so far, and I'm hoping that they stick the landing with it. I also called it as well that he was going to be the leader of the pirates. They very much implied that in this episode. The one that got mutinied at the start of episode 1, because it seemed like he was looking for AT-AT in the way that everybody else is. So somehow the pirates are going to end up getting there, right? Like, that's, I think, what this show is setting up, is that, like, everybody's going to make it to the place of where the treasure is, and it'll be like this big battle. Maybe the parents will get involved. Oh, yeah, and then we also, speaking of the parents, we meet all them at the start of the episode. There was a part of me that was slightly concerned when they showed the parents. I was like, oh, please don't tell me this whole episode is going to be about the parents, because then I would have really could have cared less about this episode. I'm still curious about, like, what the kids are doing and Jod and everybody. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right, so I apologize. But I'm curious, still, like, slightly curious about their story. It's not like super duper levels of investment, but I'm like, all right, it's okay. It's a fun little adventure. But if they would have showed, like, the parents, that's episode 1. I could not have cared less about that. When Jod said that he had an old friend, I was thinking to myself, what are the chances that it's Maz Kanata? A seamless way to, like, reinsert her into Star Wars, right? Like, she's kind of a pirate scoundrel type of lady. I think it'd be cool if we got Hondo in this show. I don't think it's going to happen, but get Maz and Hondo in this show. I'd love that. Anybody in here watch the Freemaker show? Does anybody remember the part when, like, Maz just starts chucking mugs at Hondo? He's about, like, he and his pirates, like, they're about to kill the main characters, and Maz just chucks a glass right at his face. He's like, where did she learn to throw like that? It's like one of my favorite clips of the whole show. All right, you guys, I think I'm rambling on at this point about anything other than Skeleton Crew. Again, it was fine. It was a fun little adventure, whatever. That's going to conclude our thoughts for today's episode, you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode. And be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.